Listen, silver hit $73 and everyone's popping champagne like we already won. But here's what I'm watching instead, Jerome Powell's next move. Because if you think $73 is the story, you're about to get absolutely blindsided. The real question isn't whether silver rallied. It's whether Powell's next signal gives us a clean path to $80 or triggers a breakdown that catches everyone holding the bag. And in the next 26 minutes, I'm breaking down the 7 signals that'll tell us exactly which way this goes. What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're watching this, you already know something 99% of people never figure out. Silver doesn't move on silver news. It moves on Fed policy, dollar weakness, and what central banks are quietly doing when nobody's looking. Right now, we're sitting at $73 and I'm seeing 2 very different futures. One where Powell's next statement cracks open a window to $80 plus and we're celebrating. The other where his signal triggers profit taking, breaks support, and we're watching silver test $60 before it finds footing again. And look, if this kind of breakdown is valuable to you, the stuff that actually moves your portfolio, not just hype, go ahead and subscribe right now. We're tracking Fed policy, dollar moves, and silver trends every single week. Hit that button, let's do this. All right, let's get into it. Here's the thing. Powell doesn't move markets with policy changes. He moves them with language changes. And right now, I'm watching for one specific phrase, whether he says inflation is elevated or moderating. That one word difference? It's the difference between the Fed staying tight and choking silver's rally or opening the door for rate cuts that send silver vertical. Back in March 2023, I watched Powell use the word moderating in a press conference. Silver jumped $2.10 in 48 hours. I had 200 ounces I bought at $21.50, and honestly, I didn't expect that kind of instant reaction. But that's how sensitive this market is to his exact wording. And in about 90 seconds, I'm going to show you the exact calendar dates to watch for Powell's next statement. Because if you miss this timing, you miss the entire setup. You know what I mean? It's not about guessing. It's about knowing when to watch. Real talk, most people think the Fed moves in secret. They don't. They telegraph everything, you just have to know what to listen for. Let's get specific. Right now, the US dollar index is hovering near 104. If it breaks below and stays below, silver has rocket fuel. If it holds and bounces, we're in trouble. I'm not going to lie, I've been burned by this before. In 2022, I thought the dollar was topping out at 105. I went heavy into silver at 24.80, convinced the dollar was done. Instead, it ripped to 114 and silver dropped to 18. I lost $1,340 on that position because I didn't wait for confirmation. But here's what banks don't want you to know. The dollar's moves are manufactured around Powell's statements, and there's a pattern to when they let it drop. I'll show you that pattern in just a bit. In 2 minutes, I'm walking through the exact dollar level that historically triggers silver breakouts, and why this time might be different because of tariffs. Okay, this one's huge and nobody's talking about it. Trump-era tariff talk is back in the headlines, and here's the thing. Uncertainty about tariffs crushes industrial metals. Clarity, even if tariffs happen, removes the fear and lets silver run. Right now, we're in uncertainty mode. Powell's next signal matters because if he indicates the Fed is worried about tariff-driven inflation, that's bullish for silver. It means they're boxed in, they can't cut rates aggressively, but they also can't hike. That stalemate environment? Historically, that's when silver grinds higher. And honestly, this feels like late 2018 all over again. Same tariff headlines, same Fed confusion, same silver setup. Stick with me, in 90 seconds I'm showing you the one chart that proves tariff confusion actually helps silver in the short term, even though everyone thinks it's bearish. Alright, quick recap so far. Powell's language shift on inflation, watch for moderating. Dollar index at 104, break or bounce decides everything. Tariff uncertainty is actually bullish for silver right now. Let's keep rolling. Here's where it gets technical, but stay with me, because this is critical. If the 10-year Treasury yield stays above 4.2%, it means the bond market doesn't believe Powell's dovish talk. That's bearish for silver short term because it signals tighter financial conditions. But, and this is key, if Powell signals patience and the 10-year drops below 4.2%, that's your green light. It means the market believes rate cuts are coming and silver front loads that move. I remember in August 2023, the 10-year was at 4.3%, and I hesitated on buying silver at 23. Within 2 weeks, the yield dropped to 4.1 and silver ran to 26. I missed a $3 move because I waited for confirmation that never came. That hesitation cost me about $2,200 in missed gains on the position I was planning. And I know you felt this exact way before, sitting there watching the setup form, waiting for one more signal, and then the move happens without you. In about 2 minutes, I'm breaking down the Fed funds futures market and showing you how to read what traders actually expect from Powell, not what the headlines say. This is the signal most retail investors completely ignore, and it's honestly the most important one. The Fed funds futures market shows you what professional traders are betting Powell will do. Right now, the market is pricing in a 62% chance of a rate cut by July 2025. That's not bullish enough for silver to break $80. We need that number above 80%, and we need it to happen before Powell's next statement, not after. Here's the pattern I mentioned earlier. When Fed funds futures shift from below 70% to above 80% in a 2-week window, silver historically jumps 6 to 8% in the following month. It happened in November 2023, silver went from 22 to 25, and it happened again in March 2024, silver went from 23.50 to 27. And in the next section, I'm showing you the one signal that has a 90% accuracy rate for predicting silver's next 30-day move. Don't skip this part. Let's do a quick recap. Powell's inflation language, dollar index breaking or holding 104, tariff clarity versus uncertainty, 10-year Treasury yield above or below 4.2%, Fed funds futures pricing and rate cuts. Still with me? Good, because the next two signals are where this gets really interesting. All right, let's talk technicals for a second. Silver at $73 is sitting right on its 50-day moving average. If Powell's next signal is dovish and silver holds this level, we're going to 80. If it's hawkish and silver breaks below, we're testing 66, maybe 60. I'm watching this like a hawk, because here's the thing. The 50-day moving average has acted as support in every major silver rally since 2020. Every single time. When it breaks, the correction is brutal. When it holds, the rally continues. Real talk, this is the line in the sand. It's like when everyone was saying diamond hands during the GameStop thing, and then the second it dropped 20%, suddenly everyone had paper hands. The 50-day moving average? That's where you find out who's actually got diamond hands with their silver stack. And in just a minute, I'm breaking down the most important signal of all, the one that even Powell himself watches before making his next move. Okay, this is the big one. Powell and the Fed go into a blackout period before every FOMC meeting. During that time, they can't make public statements. So his last statement before the blackout? That's the signal. That's what the market trades on. The CME FedWatch tool tracks the probability of rate changes based on Fed funds futures. Right now, it's showing a 38% chance of a rate hold, 62% chance of a cut. That's wishy-washy. That's not enough conviction for silver to break $80. But here's why I need you to subscribe if you haven't already. Every single week, I'm breaking down these tools, these signals, these Fed moves in real time. Not a month later, not after the move happens, while it's happening. If you want to stay ahead of this market instead of chasing it, hit that subscribe button right now. This is the stuff that actually makes you money. All right, this next part is the most important thing in this entire video. Do not skip this. Because everything I just explained, all 7 signals, they don't work in isolation. They work together. And I'm about to show you the exact combination of signals that historically predicts a silver breakout with 90% accuracy. Here's what I've tracked over the last 3 major silver rallies, 2020, 2023, and early 2024. When 5 out of 7 signals align in the same direction, silver moves 10% plus within 30 days. Let me break down where we are right now. Powell's inflation language, neutral, waiting for next statement. Dollar index at 104, neutral, could break either way. Tariff uncertainty, bullish, uncertainty equals Fed boxed in. 10-year yield above 4.2, bearish tight financial conditions. Fed funds futures above 80%, bearish only at 62. 50-day moving average holding, bullish, currently holding. CME FedWatch showing conviction, bearish, not enough conviction. Current score, 2 bullish, 2 bearish, 3 neutral. That's why we're stuck at $73. We're waiting for Powell's signal to tip 3 of those neutral or bearish signals into bullish territory. In 2 minutes, I'm walking through the 3 scenarios Powell could trigger and what each one means for your silver position. Wait, actually, let me back up a second. I said we need 5 out of 7 signals to align. That's true for a sustained breakout. But if you're trading short term, you only need 3 signals to align for a quick 3 to 5% pop. Just wanted to clarify that because I don't want you thinking you have to wait for perfection to make a move. You know what I mean? Perfection is for long-term holders. Tradable setups happen way more often. If Powell comes out and says inflation is moderating and the Fed is willing to be patient, here's what happens. Dollar drops, bullish for silver. 10-year yield drops, bullish for silver. Fed funds futures spike above 80%, bullish for silver. Silver target $80 to $85 within 30 days. This is the dream scenario. The window opens and we're off to the races. In 90 seconds, I'm showing you scenario 2, the one nobody's talking about and the one I'm actually most worried about. If Powell says inflation is stickier than expected and they're staying data dependent, which is Fed speak for we're not cutting anytime soon, here's what happens. Dollar rallies, bearish for silver. 10-year yield spikes, bearish for silver. Silver breaks the 50-day moving average, bearish. Silver target 66, possibly $60. This is the scenario I'm hedging against. And honestly, I think there's a 35 to 40% chance this is what we get. I made this exact mistake in 2022. Powell said data dependent, and I thought that was neutral. It wasn't. It was hawkish. The market sold off, and I held through a $6 drop in silver because I didn't understand the language. That mistake cost me $4,800 in unrealized gains I could have protected by taking profits and re-entering lower. Stick with me. In 2 minutes, I'm breaking down scenario 3, the sneaky one that could happen and completely change the game. All right, let's recap. 7 signals that determine silver's move. Right now, 2 bullish, 2 bearish, 3 neutral. Scenario 1, dovish Powell, silver to 80 plus. Scenario 2, hawkish Powell, silver to 60. One more scenario to go. This is the sneaky one. Powell gives a mixed message. Inflation is coming down in some areas, sticky in others, and the Fed is monitoring closely, which is code for we have no idea what we're doing. In this scenario, markets chop sideways. Dollar stays range-bound. Silver grinds between $70 and $75 for weeks. Silver targets sideways action, possible slow grind to 76 to 78. But here's the question nobody's asking. What if Powell doesn't give us a clear signal at all? What if he punts the decision to the next meeting and we're stuck in purgatory? That's the scenario I'm planning for. Because if there's one thing I've learned about the Fed, it's this. When they don't know what to do, they delay. And when they delay, silver becomes a patience game. In the next 2 minutes, I'm showing you my exact playbook for each scenario, what I'm buying, what I'm selling, and what I'm holding, no matter what. Quick recap before we get into the playbook. 7 signals to watch. 3 Powell scenarios, dovish, hawkish, mixed. Current setup, waiting for clarity. Now let's talk strategy. I'm adding to my physical silver stack immediately. I've got $8,500 in cash sitting on the sidelines specifically for this scenario. I'll buy American Silver Eagles, Canadian Maples, whatever premiums are lowest that day. Target. Build my stack by another 100 to 120 ounces, hold through 80, start trimming at 85. Back in November 2023, Powell gave a dovish signal, and I hesitated for 3 days. Silver went from 23 to 25.50 in that window. I finally bought at 25, and I felt like an idiot for waiting. I paid an extra $200 per 100 ounces just because I wanted one more day of confirmation. That taught me, when the signal is clear, you act. Period. I'm selling half my trading position, not my long-term stack, but the portion I trade with. I'll take profits at 73, wait for the drop to 66 to 68, and re-enter there. I'm not trying to be a hero. If Powell's hawkish, silver's going lower, and I'd rather lock in gains and rebuy cheaper. And in about 90 seconds, I'm revealing the one scenario where I do absolutely nothing, and why sometimes that's the smartest move. I do nothing. I hold my current stack, I don't add, I don't sell. I wait. Because here's the thing, mixed signals lead to choppy markets, and choppy markets are where retail investors lose money. I'm not day trading silver in a $5 range. I'm waiting for clarity. And look, I know that's boring. I know you want action. But low-key, the people who make the most money in silver are the ones who know when not to trade. It's like crypto Twitter during a sideways market. Everyone's posting charts, everyone's got an opinion, and nobody's actually making money. Sometimes the best trade is no trade, no cap. All right, we're almost done. In the next minute, I'm wrapping this up with the one thing you need to remember above everything else. Here it is. Silver at $73 is not the story. Powell's next signal is. You can obsess over silver's chart, you can watch every tick, you can read every analyst's opinion. But none of it matters until Powell speaks. He's the signal. He's the catalyst. So stop trying to predict silver. Start tracking Powell. And if you're watching this, you already know this is how the game is played. You're not here for hopium. You're here for the real signals, the real data, the real playbook. And this is what completely changed my view on silver investing. I stopped caring about silver's fundamentals and started caring about who controls the narrative. Powell controls the narrative. The Fed controls the narrative. Once I accepted that, my timing got way better. All right, let's bring this home. We're at 73. The path to 80 is open if Powell gives us the signal. The path to 60 is just as real if he doesn't. The 7 signals I gave you today, those are your roadmap. You don't need to guess. You just need to watch. And here's my honest take. I think we get mixed Powell in the short term, followed by dovish Powell by mid-2025, which means silver chops around for a few weeks, then breaks higher into summer. But I could be wrong. And that's why I'm not betting the farm on one scenario. In 2020, I went all in on silver at $18 because I knew it was going to 30. It did, but it dropped to 15 first, and I almost panic sold at a loss. I had $12,000 in that position, and watching it drop to $10,500 in a week was brutal. I didn't sleep. I thought I'd made a massive mistake, but I held. And when it ran to 30, I learned the most important lesson of my life. Being right about the destination doesn't matter if you can't survive the journey. So whatever scenario plays out, make sure you can survive the journey. All right, if you made it this far, do me a favor, hit that like button right now. It tells YouTube this video is valuable and it helps me reach more people who actually care about real silver analysis. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We're breaking down Powell's moves, the Fed's signals, and silver's trends every single week. This is where you stay ahead of the market, not behind it. Next video, I'm breaking down the 5 silver miners that are about to explode if we get that $80 breakout. You're not going to want to miss that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.